So I just bought the most expensive street legal full-size dirt bike from none other than Amazon for just $2,000, which is less than half of what it would cost me to buy a brand new Honda of this size. And basically the same price it would cost me to buy a little child's 50cc dirt bike. By now I'm sure you're wondering why I'm opening this box up with a chainsaw. Well, wouldn't you if you had a little chainsaw? Tiny chainsaw, great for opening up boxes, to use in the bathroom, to tie your shoes with, and great in the kitchen. Tiny chainsaw should never be used for anything in any situation and will cut off your fingers and toes 100% of the time. Like everything else you buy from Amazon, it was delivered by a truck, but bigger, and in a package, but bigger. And this one needs a little bit of assembly. So a couple months ago, we bought something kind of like this, but that was the street version. The cool thing about this is the all dirt version. And what's interesting is the back of the street version said for dirt only, for off-road use only. We just pulled the sticker off. This one doesn't say anything. It does say made in China. This one's also electronic fuel injection. I'm pretty excited about that. This is the deluxe model, which I don't know what that means. And they spelled cross country properly, which I'm very impressed. And if you didn't know, they told you. They think this is the strongest one. See if I can cut this open with a chainsaw. All right, that's not gonna work. We tried a lot of ways to open up these boxes. This might not be the best way, but it's not the worst way. I think it might be the best way. Let's see how it goes. I don't know why that's why so many metal shavings and cardboard shavings on it. So this is a pretty part of the course. They use these wire to tie everything down. They use this this type of bar and these exact same bolts just to bolt the whole thing down inside these pallets. We've had a couple bikes like this, and they're all pretty much transported the same. It's a nice looking tire. Now, if you guys remember the last one, the first one that we did, we were not exactly gentle with it. We'll probably be a little nicer to this one. So they're pretty clever, and they'll use the actual bike's hardware. They don't want to waste any hardware. They use the actual bike's hardware to strap the bike down. Like right here, they have this metal thing welded up, and this is the actual front axle of the for the front wheel that they stuck in there.
You want Craig to help you?
I don't need Craig. And give him the pleasure. Yeah. Never. All right, so now we're gonna clean this area up, lay out everything that we got, figure out what we have, and then we'll put it all together. Got me, Harrison.
Got you real good.
Got me real good.
Do you think you need stitches?
I might. Like always, this one comes a little pre-damaged, although that kind of looks like chainsaw marks. I'm not sure how that happened. Looks like some faulty engineering. This right here goes on the wheel, and this tells the bike how fast it's going. It's covered in dust for some strange reason. Cardboard dust. I thought it was a dirt bike. I thought it was like the dirt bike version of this motorcycle is fuel injected. I don't know why it's coming with turn signals and mirrors, because as far as I know, no title came with it. Unless there's one in here.
Oh, no. I actually know where, this is street legal. The title does come with it, because I had to submit that to the lady.
Oh.
You have to send your VIN in, and then they ship you the title, or MSO or whatever.
Interesting, so you don't get the title that quickly. Then you get the acid for the battery, toolkit, which as far as we've ever found, these things are practically valueless. You know, I don't know. This doesn't look that bad. Tire and hardware. So the goal of today is that we don't have tons and tons and tons of extra bolts left like we normally do. There's no way I got this many bolts that are still not put in. All right, so now I guess we just gotta put it together. First things first, yeah, we need to get this battery set up so we can, so while we're setting everything else up, this thing can be getting charged. I hate these. I hate that. I never do this right, but I gotta figure out a way. Pour this inside all these little guys somehow without getting it in my eyeball every single time. So what's gonna happen is I'll pour it in here till it overflows. Then I pour it in that one till it overflows. And then it's dumping all over the place. And remember, if there's one goal, it's don't get acid in your eyeball. It's almost like it's made for you to just dump acid all over the place and still have just enough. All right, so this is what we got. Let's see how long it takes me to put it together. I think I can do it within an hour. I'm getting a little bit better at this, so And while you're watching me put this bike together, here are the words of wisdom for today. Luke 6:36, you must be compassionate, just as your Father is compassionate. I'm tightening this up, but I know I'm gonna have to take it all off again first because I forgot something, I did something wrong, so I'm gonna go for it. I like it slightly off though. Okay. This will all get tucked in underneath the front fairing. And this is the exact same, it's the exact same green looking military style hardware that every single bike from China is put together with. It's probably not the most ideal thing to be doing this by yourself because some stuff is kind of heavy, but once you get on the lift on that stand over there, it's not that bad. Especially by yourself, no one sees you like drop it on your foot or anything. This one does look like it's slightly better quality than the last one. Can't wait to ride it though with this fuel injection. I'm hoping it has a lot more power. The problem with the other one was that it just didn't have that big, 200 or 250 power that you were expecting. It was kind of felt like a dog. I'm hoping this is gonna feel a whole lot faster than the other one did. Now you'd think this is one of those situations that you couldn't mess it up. A lot of times they have a little wedge inside the brakes. So when you press the brake, you don't just squish the pads between each other and you get to pry them apart. This one didn't have that, so the brakes are too tight. I gotta put something in there and push the calipers back in and then slide the rotor in. It was probably me though. That was probably me that screwed that one up. Now, if you're wondering, like I was, what brand of tire is this? It looks like a good tire. Rubber, stripes on it, whatever. This is a Yaoxing. Yaoxing. This thing's turning out pretty well. Don't forget to remind me to tighten this axle. That could be a little sketchy. And this goes right here. Warning, no one under the age of 16 should operate this vehicle without adult supervision. Study the owner manual carefully. Always wear a helmet, eye protection, eye protective riding gear. Do not drive while drinking alcohol or on medication. That kind of takes all the fun away from it. I gotta admit, these signs are getting better. They are actually coherent English words. You gotta give them props. They are getting better. So here's the other problem you have. Because there's no instruction manual, you have all these different size and looking bolts. They're almost all the exact same thread. At the end you're like, oh, this is supposed to be here and it's supposed to be here. So I'm just looking for 4 bolts that look the same. Like those look the same. I doubt they're using these bolts to hold that fender up. These aren't the same size. That's very confusing. All right, so there's these 2 random wires I got to plug in. This one's brown, so I plugged into a brown one. There's multiple places you can plug stuff into. I don't know where it goes. There's 3 green ones. Let's match it with one of them. Who cares? You need lights anyway. It's looking like a pretty decent dirt bike. What I don't like about it is that the seat's all slopey and like touring. You know what I mean? A normal dirt bike seat is just straight. That kind of throws it off a little bit, but that's not looking bad. All right, so the next thing we gotta do is we gotta pull the bolt off of this. So this is gonna get kind of tough to do with one person. And this is probably where the bike falls on top of you. There we go. All right, so one thing is this is kind of part of the course when you buy something like this. There's always something that's bent, always something that's not fitting upright. This tab is supposed to be over on this side. So I gotta bend this tab back almost like 2 inches so this will fit. So something that I've wondered, I'm sure you guys have wondered, was what happens if you want to send the bike back? Amazon has a really generous return policy. Not with these. I had big plans. I was going to roll this thing back into Kohl's because you can return stuff at Kohl's. You can't return bikes. This is one of those products that is non-returnable. Even if you didn't put it together yet, it's still kind of a pain to return. The warranty, there's still not much of a warranty on it. If something breaks, they'll fix it, but it's kind of a pain. You're not going to get it fixed quickly. You're not going to get it, it's not the easiest part. We've actually dealt with that with some of our other bikes. Now, if you're wondering why these things are so much cheaper than, let's say like a Honda or something like that, a lot of it is the sum of the components. Like stuff like this is the rear brake lever. It's just a stamped piece of steel. It would normally be aluminum. The frame would normally be an aluminum frame. If you look at this component right here, they actually bent the frame right there just to fit the exhaust. So right there is a huge weak point in the frame. So if you're trying to take the bike to its levels, and do like motocross and supercross stuff like that, you might start seeing limitations. But for the average guy just riding his bike, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But the big question is the engine going to last that long? And honestly, for the money, it doesn't have to last that long. If it lasts 4 years, that's not that bad. But you could just replace the motor. It is fairly simple to yank out and put back in. You ever get the idea when you buy something from China, you're like, are they using that to surveillance me? Can they see me? You got a little bug in there, you got a camera in there. Can you see what I'm doing? Nah, that's crazy. Like, yo, you see that funny TikTok I sent you?
Yeah, that was funny.
All joking aside, actually, BMWs, because they've got cameras all over the place, you can actually connect, if it's your car and it's connected to your phone, but you can actually see where everything is and have it take photos of its location. So if it's stolen, if it's inside of a shop, and some guy's standing right there, you could see that from your phone when the car gets stolen, which I thought that was pretty cool. We need that technology for bikes, because bikes are getting stolen all the time. See, look at this. There's no way that this wire should be hanging outside. This whole thing should be completely underneath here. All right, this is the shifter lever. Also, I mean, this is the first thing. If you actually take this off-road, this will be the first thing that breaks. It's just metal. It's gonna break at that weld, or it's gonna get bent, and then you try to bend it back, it's gonna snap. The better quality ones are like billet aluminum or forged aluminum. Of course, we just hand tighten these, you know, hand tight performance, hand tight racing. That's not a problem. Oh, so those other connections in there that I was talking about, I didn't know what they went to. They went to this. And the reason they don't put this in when they're crating it, or before, one, laziness, two, they would get in the way and they'd probably break. I'm gonna jam these wires in here, I'll connect it later. Later being never. The tab is very bent. This little guy goes in there, but that should not be as bent as what it is. That's not doing nothing. You adjust it with this. Now this is pretty cheap feeling. This is all gonna break. There's no way I got this many bolts that are still not put in. This, okay, I know where this goes. It's fairly important. This goes up, this should be the washer for this bolt right here. You guys are supposed to remind me to tighten this. I probably should have used an actual socket and not a stamped piece of junk. Your front tire staying on is a fairly important thing. I've learned that in the past couple years of riding a motorcycle. So this should be, I screwed this one up. This should be inside here. Let me see if I can take that bolt off and pry it up and squeeze that in between, because that should not be dangling. That's gonna get snagged and torn off. That's not just the bolt for that little bracket. That's actually the entire, like, the fork tube bolt. Normally, a lot of bikes have two of them. Instead of one, you have two. This one just has one. Like I said before, you know, it is an inexpensive bike, and you know, they're gonna cut corners wherever they can. So unlike the first time we put one of these together, I feel like I did this one right. Like, I feel like I'm not missing anything, except I still have a big pile of bolts right here. It kind of concerns me, to be honest with you. So I guess all these extra bolts, we just don't need them. Before we fire this thing up, let's compare it with the first one we bought real quick. There's a lot of differences to it. Now, don't get me wrong, when I'm kind of saying that the negatives are like the frame and the suspension and stuff like that, and you know, some of these cheaper components, that's not, Honda and the bigger companies don't not do that stuff. They just do that stuff with the cheaper, less performance oriented motorcycles, which, you know, they kind of make sense. But comparing this one to the previous one, the regular Hawk, not the DLX, not the strongest Hawk, this one doesn't even say, we lost the panels a long time ago when we jumped it into a pond. One of the biggest differences is the forks. The diameter, these are real skinny. This is like something you see on like maybe a TTR, like 125 or 225. You know, a smaller, less performance-oriented bike. You look over here, big old, fat, normal size forks. They're possibly big enough that you can switch these out with like I said, a Honda's or, you know, some other brand of forks, and just throw them on there, and then you got a good suspension on the bike. Maybe we'll test it out later. This one's got a digital. This one's got digital gauges. This one's got the old analog. Honestly, you look at a bike like this, and this bike could have been made 20 years ago, could have been made 30 years ago. This bike, mainly because it's fuel injected, you know, it dates it as, you know, the past 5 years. Let's turn the key, see what happens. That's cool looking. That's a cool looking setup. It's got a fuel light. It tells me it's on empty. Neutral light. F, what the heck is that? F?
Fuel injected?
I don't know why they didn't, because it has to tell me that. Normally it says FI. It's already set for miles per hour. That's actually pretty cool looking. So let's, like we normally do, let's just dump gas all over it, which ends up always happening. Uh-oh. And then let's see if this thing fires up. How is it dripping? I'm pouring it right in there. All right, so I got to see if it fires up with the kickstart. It's close. All right, forget that. All right. Why does it not want to idle though? All right, first, just from riding it from here to there, it feels pretty snappy. Clutch feels great though. Clutch feels really good. This bike is a million times more better than the previous one. Like the feel, it just feels so much better. Let me throw a helmet on. I'll show you guys real quick. All right, let's see if we can find some more gas in here. Ha ha ha! There we go. There we go. Ah, crap. That's empty. All right. There we go. All right, let's go top that thing off. Show you guys what it's like. All right, fuel gauge works. Seems to be idling a little bit better. Let's see what it's got. Oh man, this thing feels so much better than it did before, than the last one did. I mean, this is actually I'm really impressed. I am very impressed. It's fairly peppy, a lot more power than what the other one did before. A lot more power than what the other one had before is what I'm trying to say. It still stalls though. All right, I'm gonna say it. I've driven this thing for 0 miles, exactly 0 miles, and I'm gonna say I think this is a viable option for a cheap motorcycle. But there's only one thing to do next, and that's to test it against one of the big name brands. We'll do it in the next video. Guys, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. This thing's fun. It's a big improvement. I wonder if I just need to adjust the idle right here. Just adjust that little screw right there and just give it a little bit more idle. It's idling now, so I don't know. Maybe it just needs to be warmed up.